Hey Muse Makers, welcome back. Today we're going to be painting Snowy Homestead, a beautiful couples painting, and when it's cold outside, it's always better to paint with somebody else to stay nice and cozy. So I'm working with two 8x10 canvas panels, but you can use any size that you wish. And then these are my colors today. I have red, green, blue, black, and white, as well as some mixing plates to mix up my paints on. And I have a water cup with three types of brushes. I have a big brush, I have a medium brush, and I have a small brush. And I also have some paper towels to dry off my brushes before I begin painting. All right, so the idea of a couples painting is that together they create the full masterpiece. Alone, they will create really amazing pieces themselves as well, but together, of course, are always better. I'm going to be mixing up my background color blues first. So we're going to grab a big brush and our paper plate. We're going to start with our darker blue, so just a tiny touch of white, big scoop of blue. The white paint just helps to thicken it up. All right, next blue, we want a nice medium blue, so I'm going to grab a full scoop of white without cleaning off my brush and just utilize the paint that's already on the brush to mix up that color. Last blue is going to be a nice baby blue. Again, going to go ahead and take a nice big scoop of white. Not going to clean off my brush, and the excess blue on my brush should help to get me to that color. So I have three types of blues. With my lightest blue, I'm going to be drawing out my hill in which my barn is going to be sitting on, my trees are going to be sitting on. Over here on the left, a little bit below center of our canvas, we're going to use just the tip edge of our brush to draw a nice little hill coming down. Do a couple little bumps along the way over to the other side. All right. Then we're going to be taking this light blue and really randomly throwing it in above that line, keeping it nice and choppy. Then I'm going to clean off my brush and get into my medium blue. We're going to do the same type of choppiness right above that lighter blue. At some points they might blend, and that's good. I'm not worried about blending right now, just worry about getting this bit right on top. Now when I blend, I'm actually going to do like little plus signs. Plus sign, plus sign. Give it that kind of cross hatch look. And then I'm going to go into my darker blue, put some darker blue right above, and I'll cross hatch again. The last step for my sky, I'm going to clean off my big brush and get into white paint to go underneath of my lighter blue and then cross hatch upwards. Next, we're going to be putting in some shadows in the snow down here. Medium brush, dark blue paint. We're going to draw a nice hill that comes from just below the top edge of my snow over here on the right canvas. And it's just going to gradually work its way down into the left canvas along the bottom edge. Then I'm going to actually go into my light blue and just slowly do these little dash marks close to that edge. Bring those dash marks out into the snow a little bit. Clean brush, white paint, dash marks, and blend underneath the light blue. Next, I'm going to be taking a little bit of my medium blue. And over here on the left canvas, I'm going to be drawing a little dip. So I'm going to draw a dip in the snow, and then it's going to come up. I'm going to paint a little bit above that. Clean brush. Grab some white paint and blend that blue into the snow more. Last little hill, medium blue. This first hill right here, I'm going to continue and let it dip down and then kind of straighten out. And then use white paint with a clean brush above that to blend it in some. Last part for my background, I'm going to be taking some white paint and just getting the tops of my hills nice and crisp. And that is it for our background. We are going to give ourselves about a 10 to 15 minute dry break before we put anything else on top. In the meantime, let me show you around the studio. Once our paintings are dry, we're going to go ahead and work on the barn over here on the left. So I'm going to be taking my small brush in red paint to draw it out. First, I'm going to start off by making a nice square. So I'm going to leave myself a good inch or two over here on the left edge. And I'm not going to come up too far. Since it's further back in my background, we want it to be proportionate to the rest of our painting. So it's going to be a little barn. Make sure it sits behind that hill that it's sitting on. And for the top of my barn, on the edges, I'm going to draw lines that come up at an angle, like so. And then 2 more lines that come up to a point at the top. And I'm going to fill the barn in with red paint. And then we're going to add some highlights and shadowing. So I'm not going to clean off my brush. I'm just going to grab a little bit of white paint. And I'm going to draw these little tick marks kind of all over the place and let them blend in on their own. And I'm going to do the same thing with a little tiny bit of black paint. Get some shadowing. Now we're going to let that dry. In the meantime, we're going to work on our trees. So I'm going to take my small brush in black paint to paint in all the trunks of my trees first. Using very light pressure, we're going to draw these in. There are 3 on each canvas. I have one over here just to the left of my barn, and it's going to stop in this little dip here. Then at the end of that dip to the right of my barn, I'm going to draw one that's a little bit shorter. And then one that's in this dip here that's even shorter than that. On my right canvas, sticking along that line, drawing a tree that's a little bit smaller than that one. And then along this back edge, these kind of disappear in the background. These are going to be our smallest 2 trees. Now with your small brush, go ahead and mix up a dark green. We're going to grab a scoop of green and a small touch of black. Now we want these trees to stay really, really thin at the top and get thicker at the bottom. They really look like nice little Christmas trees here. So I'm going to basically do little tapping motions in a slight zigzag pattern. And you don't want to get too far away from that center line too quick. So little by little, your zigzags are going to get further and further away. Next, we're going to be drawing the little stick tree that's mainly over here in our right canvas, but does venture a tiny bit into the left. Using my small brush, get it nice and clean in black paint. We're going to start at the top of our trunk, and it's going to go in between these two trees. Start somewhere in between those two, and get thicker as you work your way down your canvas so that the trunk of your tree has a nice, good base, and you know that tree is not going to fall over. It is nice and steady. Then we're going to add some branches. So I'm going to peel off of my tree like a little banana peel and flick at the end of my tree branch to make sure the line is nice and small and tapered at the end. I'm going to add all my branches in here. You can add as many or as few of them as you like. If you want to make sure you have that bird in there, definitely make sure you put this specific branch in. It is the perfect perching branch. While we let that dry, we're going to work on the moon and all the snowflakes. So over here in your right canvas, medium brush, white paint, I'm just going to swirl in a nice circle over here in the top right corner. Now for the snowflakes that are a little bit more complicated with your small brush, we're going to draw a little plus sign. Then we're going to start in the center, kind of swirl out a little bit, and put 4 little dots at the ends of those lines. The easy snowflakes are just tiny little dots. Boop, just like that. Some snowflakes even have more than just a plus sign. So I might just draw a little line and then an X through it. Still do that swirl. And then dots at the ends of those lines. I'm also going to throw a couple of snowflakes down here in this little hill. Next, we're going to be adding some snow into our trees. So along the top edges of my tree branches and kind of these little nooks and crannies, we're going to be putting in some snow. It can be nice and chunky. It doesn't need to be super smooth or even. Next up in our barn, we're going to do some tracing with black paint. I'm going to trace around the outside edge. We're going to trace the bottom of the roof. Add a nice rectangle window in the roof. Then I'm going to draw out some barn doors. So a nice big square. A line down the center, and then an X coming from the corners. I'm also going to add a little wind gauge at the top of my barn, drawing a little line, and then a little X, and a dot at the top. Next, we're going to be adding some snow onto our evergreen trees. Small brush, white paint. Going to be just really roughly throwing this on top of our branches, on top of our leaves. Next, we're going to add in the bird. Going to take some red paint, my small brush. Body is kind of like a teardrop shape. Then you have a small circle for the head, and a little triangle over to the left for the beak, and a very, very thin, elongated triangle for the tail feathers. We're going to make a slightly darker red for the wing. This is going to be like a teardrop shape that kind of curls a little bit at the end. I'm going to take some black paint for an eye and the beak. Last couple steps here in our barn, we're going to add some white detailing. Inside of our window, we're going to have these really thin white lines, and then trace the outside of the window with white. Then we're going to trace the outside of our barn door with white. And parts of this X with white. And there we go. We have created a beautiful couples art masterpiece, perfect for the winter season. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and we would love to see what you have created at home. Make sure you post on social media, tag us at muse_paintbar so we can check them out. If you love this tutorial and would like to see more from our channel, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again next time.